This exchange has been further defined and refined within leadership, the study of leadership, through a theory called leader-member exchange. Leader-member exchange theory focuses on the quality of the dyadic relationships of a leader and their followers. Dyadic relationships simply means the set of one-to-one relationships between a leader and their followers. So if a leader has 5 followers, there would be 5 dyadic relationships between the leader and his or her followers. And this relationship, this dyadic relationship, or the quality of this relationship, will differ for each relationship the leader has with his followers. We might ask, then, what is the basis for this relationship? Leader-member exchange scholars have claimed that the relationship really is assessed by each member in the relationship on 2 dimensions. The first dimension is what we call functional contribution. Okay, let's go here. The second dimension would be interpersonal. Functional contribution, I want you to come back to me now. Functional contribution just simply means that each follower provides or offers something to the leader in terms of the task that the leader or the group is attempting to perform. This is generally the competency or the knowledge or the skills that the follower has to help the leader be successful or help the group be successful, which in turn makes the leader successful. This would be functional contribution. Each follower contributes to the success of the group and therefore the leader in different ways, and in this way is assessed the quality of the relationship along the functional contribution dimension. Interpersonal has to do with other qualities of the relationship, such as trust, loyalty, respect, and in this way, each member offers something to the leader, such as these qualities. So every leader and every follower, every dyadic relationship can be assessed in terms of the functional contribution that the follower provides to the leader and the quality of the interpersonal relationship between the follower and the leader as defined by the amount of respect, loyalty, trust the follower has for the leader. Now, there's one other view of this exchange that's helpful to us. We've heard quite a bit about the notion of servant leadership. One way to look at servant leadership is simply as an LMX role inversion. Or, in other words, what is the quality of the relationship between the leader and the follower when we're looking at the leader's functional contribution to the follower or the leader's interpersonal relationship with the follower, such as how much does the leader trust, respect, how loyal is the leader to the follower. So this is an interesting way to view servant leadership once we begin to understand the relational or one-on-one relationship aspects of leadership in terms of inverting this and simply saying to what degree is the leader committed to the success of the follower? To what degree is the leader trusting and being loyal to his or her followers? Okay, come back to me here. Now we'll go to the EIV model. This model is a very practical and simple model, and it is a model that we can place or position many other motivational models or motivational theories within. So let's simply walk through the model first, and then we'll look at each of the components of the model. Okay, to this point, what we've done is look at several theories or models that help us understand the structural role of leaders. These are based on assumptions that human beings are primarily social in nature and they respond to environmental stimuli in certain ways. We looked at control systems, which are both formal and informal. We looked at reinforcement theories that include positive and negative reinforcement as well as punishment. And we looked at social exchange theory as the force that holds employees or holds relationships together, such as leaders and followers. and specifically the leader-member exchange theory that applies social exchange theory specifically to leaders and followers. Now we want to move forward looking at the EIV model. The EIV model is a classical model of motivation that was designed by a scholar some years ago to explain why an individual would put effort toward a particular behavior or associated behavioral outcome. It is a model that, while fairly simple in nature, provides us a backdrop or a framework to look at a host of motivational theories. And let me just put this disclaimer out. If you were to study these motivational theories in and of themselves, you would generally not see them framed within the EIV model. But for sake of clarity, of concept, and for application, we have chosen to explain to you a number of these motivational concepts, theories, and models within an overriding model called the EIV model. The first part of the EIV model is what we call effort to performance, or performance as the first level of outcome. Sometimes we call this the E to P step. It's the first step. And basically the individual in this step is asking and answering the question, can I do it, relative to a particular behavior and its associated behavioral outcome. The second step, or the I part of the EIV model, is performance to reward. This involves the question is, what will I get assuming that I can perform? So we first ask, can I do it? If I put forth the effort, will I perform? And then the individual asks, if I perform, what will I get? The last question has to do with the valence of the outcome, or the value of the outcome to the individual, and the individual simply asks and answers, okay, if that's what I'm going to get, is it worth it? Vroom would say that the individual must answer all three questions yes before effort is exerted toward the behavior and its associated behavioral outcome. We call the first stage expectancy, the second stage we call instrumentality, and the last stage we call valence. Thus, we have the EIV model. Come back to me. The expectancy stage, or asking and answering the question, can I do it, is generally based on the study of self-efficacy. In other words, does a person feel efficacious? Does a person believe that there's a sufficient probability that if they put forth the effort, they will be successful at the task? So we see the definition of self-efficacy as simply the likelihood or probability that I can achieve the anticipated results given the effort that I put forth. Now, self-efficacy came to us from social learning theory by Bandura, which explained to us, where do people get their expectancy from? Where do they get their efficacy from? How do they have it? And what does it help? Well, we know that it helps us put forth effort toward task, and therefore helps toward task performance. Well, the four areas that Bandura described for us that are the sources of efficacy, the first and foremost is experience. In other words, what we have done in the past, what we have experienced in the past, will inform our efficacy in the future. The second and most influential factor in efficacy, it comes from modeling or vicarious learning. Modeling is simply having seen someone do that which we are about to do, and therefore visualizing the behavior, visualizing the outcome, and enhancing the efficacy of the individual performing the task. The third is encouragement. This is where one person would exhort or encourage another person to do the task. We see this quite often with coaches in their pregame speeches, where they are exhorting the underdog to that they can do it, that they can accomplish and can win the game. The fourth, least often but also possible, is what we call adrenaline or an emotional rush. So the actual physiological effects of emotional rush would be raising a person's efficacy.